Hey, welcome back to our podcast, your go-to source for all things real estate and lifestyle in the heart of Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Jackson Christian Berry.
And I'm Jean Kristen Berry.
And together, we're here to guide you through the vibrant world of Fort Worth and surrounding suburb living.
We believe in creating a community where everyone feels at home. And that's why we're committed to bringing you honest, expert advice in a fun and friendly way. From the bustling streets of downtown to the serene suburbs, we've got the scoop on what makes each area unique.
Each week, we'll dive into the latest market trends, offer tips for both buyers and sellers, and share insider knowledge to help you make informed decisions. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about some of the Fort Worth charming neighborhoods, you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode. Hey folks, and welcome back to Welcome Home Fort Worth. We're so excited you join us again, as we always are. We're always so excited that you're here. You're watching. We really put a lot of time and effort into these episodes to give you as much value as we possibly can. So it's very validating to us that you watch it. We certainly appreciate it. So today we have our tips and tricks episode for the month of February. So sometimes we do them kind of holistically for buyers and sellers. Sometimes we kind of do a buyer and seller episode. Today's another one of those holistic ones. We've got something that both buyers and sellers need to know on both sides. Mm-hmm. So let's jump in. Come on.
All right. So we are talking today about timing.
Okay.
So in the real estate market, it is all about timing if you're going to be strategic.
Mm-hmm,
so if you're going to really work on when's the best time to buy, when's the best time to sell, then you're going to think about timing.
And I mean, even how you sell or how you just the whole process, timing is of the essence.
Absolutely. Because, even if it's a buyer-friendly market, the timing may have something to do with, depending on where you want to buy.
Yeah, totally.
When you're going to do it.
Yeah, and especially if you're if you're looking for a super desirable neighborhood that everybody else is looking in, there may not be that much inventory. And
Absolutely.
So you really have to figure out, you have to make sure your ducks are in a row when that one property that only comes on once a year is ready to go. So.
Absolutely. And, you may not have to time it. You're just going to grab it when it comes on.
Sure.
It's not going to come on.
Yeah.
So let's talk first about sellers. So we're going to go timing considerations for sellers, and then we'll talk about timing considerations for buyers.
Great.
And these will overlap a little bit.
Cool.
Because a lot of times if you're buying or selling, and, you need to know both ends of it, because the best sellers, in my opinion, understand the mindset of a buyer.
Yeah, sure.
So the more we can help you understand the mindset of a buyer, then you're going to be a better seller, and vice versa for a buyer.
Yeah, of course.
You understand the mindset of a seller.
Yeah.
So here we go. So first of all, you want to kind of know what season is the best time to buy or to sell. Mm-hmm. So for sellers, I pulled some stats. It's kind of fascinating, actually. We always know that seasonality has something to do with money for sellers and how much they can get from their homes. But spring may be more about a good time for selling than just growing flowers.
Sure.
Right? So in the last 5 years in Tarrant County, if you compare January, the month of January, and you compare that to the month of May, so over the last 5 years, the average sold price increased $30,000 to $71,000, depending on the month. Wow. From comparing those 2 months to each other. Wow. So that's pretty substantial.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big increase.
That's wow.
I mean, that's a lot of money. So you've got seasonality that's coming into play around that November, December, January time, where you may get less, and then you've also got seasonality around the big demand time, which is when buyers are really looking, which is April, May, June, July.
Yeah.
Days on market during that same period of time, if you compare January days on market over 5 years to May days on market, decreased 43 to 55%, depending on which year it was.
Wow.
So the most closed sales ever for each year were in the months of July, August, June, and May. So May, June, July, August.
Seasonality is a thing.
That's kind of a block of time. Those are the most closed sales.
Wow.
So that's 2019 to 2020.
Yep. Cool.
23, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think what that tells us is that depending on your property, so, like we talk about hyperlocal for market stats.
Heck yeah.
So we're going to talk about home specific when we're talking about this.
Okay.
So each home needs to be evaluated and assessed to determine, does your home meet the box of criteria for selling in spring, selling in the summer, selling in the fall, winter? Yeah,
and I think that there are a lot of conditions that can go into that.
There are.
I mean, just property condition in and of itself can be a big indicator of that. But some of your amenities.
Amenities.
Right? if you've added a pool, if everybody in the neighborhood added a pool, but you didn't, right? There are different ways we play that marketing plan than other ways. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you only get that if you do an assessment.
Yeah.
And you really look at that house and you determine
in your house assessment that like no online tool can do, just none of that. Like somebody has to come inside your house to see it. That's the way that works.
Absolutely. And that helps you with your pricing. Helps you get it right. If you live by the lake, then there's going to be certain criteria, certain time of year that you're going to want to do that.
Yeah. The pictures alone you can get, those sunset lake pictures are just, those stand out so much on Zillow or Realtor.com or those platforms because there just aren't that many of them. Yeah. And especially then that half the time they don't time the market right too. So wow.
And think about the marketing potential of that. So if you've got a property that either has this amazing gardening aspect to it, you're going to want to showcase that property when it's high season, right?
Of course.
So the way that works is, you do these amazing photographs and these amazing videos, and you get all kinds of attention, even if people are just looky-loos, but they might tell somebody else, look at this. Yeah. And then eventually it propagates out to where you have a buyer.
Yeah. It's never a bad thing to have more people looking at your house when you're trying to sell it. That's never a bad thing.
Right.
That's always a better thing.
It is.
even if it's just a little like silly reel, that somebody put together that's with a trend, some realtor dancing in the house or whatever, more eyes on the house is always a good thing. It's never a bad thing.
That's the way that, we get the leverage for getting more people to see it.
Right.
And then you've got a bigger market.
Yep, totally. Market. Yep.
So how about homes with pools? So people ask that all the time. Is a pool going to add value to my house? When's the best time to sell if you have a pool? Yep. All those kinds of things. So when I pulled the stats, this is all for Tarrant County.
Okay.
So I'm pulling for Tarrant County. So if you compare again the January month to an April to July, kind of a month zone. So the average sales price in January and February of last year, 2023, was $612.
Okay.
In June, it was $750.
Good grief.
These are homes with pools.
Good grief.
And then again in January of this year, it came back down to $735.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the thing to think about with that is that pools tend to sell most strongly from April until about July or August.
In Texas, when there's demand.
When it's hot.
when you're like, oh, I need a pool.
Yeah. Everybody's sweating.
You feel it.
You're going in and out of your car, looking at houses.
Right.
And you're just dripping.
Yes,
you're like, that pool looks amazing. I want that. We see it all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're showing houses. We see it all the time.
Oh, my gosh.
So people are just loving pools in Texas at that time of year. Again, that takes an assessment for somebody to look at your pool. Do you have an amazing pool? Do you have a gazebo? You have an outdoor kitchen? Outdoor kitchens tend to do real well in the fall.
Yeah.
So, those are just all things to kind of look at. So in a hot seller's market, because we have a seller's market right now, right?
Yep.
So we are still in a seller's market. Inventory is still low. It's not as crazy it was in 2021.
Yeah, that's just,
But it's still low.
Yeah.
So what do you do to maximize your property, maximize your price in a hot seller's market? So some of the things you can do is again, look at the assessment of the home and see what are the particular things that you have with your house, the amenities you have compared to the other amenities in the neighborhood. Sure. What are the things that help you stand out? And what kind of buyer are we looking for?
Yes. Yeah.
So you got to get to the mindset of the buyer.
Yes.
If you were to bet on it, what would you bet would be the buyer that was going to buy this particular property?
Yeah. And I think that's so helpful too. We talk to all our buyers we work with on this, but like one of the biggest hacks in this market right now is the builders are buying down rates like crazy.
Absolutely.
If you're selling a home that you recently bought, that you bought brand new, that's a 2020 build maybe, that's just 4 years old, right? You've probably gained appreciation, which is awesome. But if somebody sees that, they're going to be comparing it to new builds. You're close enough in that range where they're going to compare it to that. And you have to then compete with them doing this interest rate thing. At least I shouldn't say compete. You need to be aware of it. Yeah. You need to be aware that this is something that when they are shopping your house, they're saying, I can go get this house, or I can go over here and get this new house with upgrades, probably a little smaller than what you'd price it for usually.
Right.
But just get into the mind of your buyer. See what they would see. What are they seeing on the market? Who are you competing with? And how can we position you where you are the one they choose in the timeline that you would like to be sold by?
And that part of that is why we look so strongly for feedback from our showings.
Oh, big time. You have to
because we can see what the buyers are seeing. We can get in their mindset, know what they're looking at.
Yep.
Like you just said, if you've got a 1-year-old home that you're selling, but they've got brand new ones that got $15,000 incentives on, But do you have plantation shutters all throughout your house? Did you also upgrade for other things?
Yeah. We're going to talk a lot about that on marketing for sure.
Yeah.
Because you have to. You have to point out the things that, hey, you're not getting this over here.
Right.
This was an upgrade. This was a
$30,000 upgrade.
Yes, that was huge.
Compared to a $15,000 incentive. If you have a house that needs some TLC, so if that's the kind of house that you're selling, you don't have all the amazing amenities, you haven't done all the upgrades, maybe you've got old carpet.
You got dogs.
You got dogs and it smells funny and they've chewed up a few things.
Yep.
Maybe you don't.
I got dogs. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe you don't have any grass in the backyard.
Whoa! Shots fired. That wasn't my fault.
So, things like that. So if you have a house that needs TLC and you really don't want to do a lot of things to it.
Yeah.
So you're going to sell best in the off season because there's less inventory. You have less competition.
Yeah.
Buyers that need to buy, like they're really motivated and they need to get into a house, they're going to make some concessions for your house not looking amazing, right? They're going to be like, okay, this isn't the exact house I want, but I can put a new carpet and I can put some paint in it and I'll be okay.
Yeah.
So if you need TLC, that off-season time is your sweet spot.
There's less to compete with too. That's kind of what you're saying is there's just less to compete with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you tend to rise to the top a little farther.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. Homes that are really cherry, they're updated, they've got the crazy amenities. People have put tons of money into them. Those are the ones that sell best whenever there's most buyers looking.
Because they're going to fight for it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to stand out.
Imagine Black Friday. I mean, that's what's going to happen with that home for sure.
Yeah. That's when you want them out there. You want every buyer in the whole wide world to see them. And then you'll get some competitive offers. Luxury homes also have peaks. So luxury homes tend to be really in demand during prime relocation times because a lot of our luxury buyers are coming from other states, even other countries.
Moving for business reasons.
A lot of it's business related. And so when you've got those kinds of situations, it's going to be maybe during a spring break week.
Sure.
It may be during a Christmas break. A lot of times schools are involved or it could be during the early summer.
Yeah, sure.
So that's going to be prime times, May to August. A lot of luxury properties have a pool where they have some outdoor, living space areas. And so, again, you would want to follow kind of that pool rule of it'll be in the summer, spring. Sure. Now, you will see a little spike with luxury homes in November and December because a lot of luxury homeowners a lot of buyers will have extra money, excess money they need to invest in something before the end of the year to get a tax break or to have some kind of a write-off.
Sure.
So you'll see a little spike in November and December also. How about farm and ranch? So farm and ranch people, a lot of times if you're moving from like a 1 acre property to a 10-acre property, okay, well, that's going to follow just the seasonality. It's going to follow regular residential sales. It's going to be a spring and summer kind of deal, right? But if you're a large land buyer and you're looking for real big pieces of land, those tend to spike. Those tends to happen more November, December, January.
Yeah.
And that's due to usually you can get a better deal because the sellers are just done or they're ready or they're feeling the need.
Yeah, a lot of sellers miss the mark in the summer. They probably listed in the summer and just stayed on the market longer than they wanted to.
Yeah. And bigger pieces of property tend to stay on the market longer. So by the end of the year, they're ready to go.
Yeah, of course.
So that can happen there. So those are some ideas and those are some timing kinds of pieces.
Yeah, big time.
When it comes to sellers. And I think the biggest takeaway needs to be you need to look at the property with all of its pros and cons, its amenities, and its downsides to determine it.
Yeah, or have somebody do it for you, right? Like it's time. It's that time of you learning all these things and evaluating all these things worth it to you, then cool, go do it. Or do you want to have somebody like us who does this frequently to come in, save you the time of learning it, give you some advice and pointers and kind of get a strategy together, a plan of attack together.
Hey everyone, real quick before we get back to the show, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, we'd love to connect with you. We post a lot of content like this in case you miss an episode, along with more Fort Worth and surrounding suburb, local insights, and finds. You can find our team at the Christenberry Group on all social platforms, or you can connect with Jackson and I personally on our Facebook and our Instagram accounts. Just be prepared for lots of pictures of my grandson on either account. Now back to the show. Yeah. And we get a lot of questions, don't we, about people saying, well, is it worth it to me to put in the granite countertops? Is it worth it to go ahead and put the carpet in?
Yep.
And so those are things we can consider.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, upgrades and stuff. Yeah, I think that there's always that fear when you talk to a real estate agent or just any salesperson you're just afraid of like, man, if I even call them or text them, like they're going to hound me.
They're going to want a list right now.
It's like, y'all, no, like yes, actually that's obviously a thing because it is a thing. But in our situation, no, we won't hound you. We're just going to, we just want to advise you. We want to give you pointers. We want to save you the time of having to go on YouTube and learn all the things you're going to try to learn, or get on Google and read all the mixed reviews of ways to approach it, and that we read consistently, and save you the time of that and just give you some pointers. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Value. All right. Time and considerations for buyers.
Yeah. Hit me.
Okay. So all you sellers out there, keep in mind that you want to know what the buyer's thinking.
Yeah.
So time and considerations. How do you find the buyer's market homes in the middle of a seller's market?
How do you find the buyer's market homes in the middle of the seller's market?
Does that make sense?
No.
So there are little areas that are buyer's market.
Got it. Okay, sorry. Yes.
So if you really go super hyper local, right?
Yes.
Super hyper local, then you can look at a subdivision.
Yes.
And you can see.
And you can see that days on market compared to the average in the area is just like huge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'm with you now.
And the inventory is a lot, right?
Yeah.
So we see that.
Yeah.
So your realtor can actually research that. A realtor can research that if you have certain zip codes or certain areas that you want to be in. If you're looking for those buyer market kinds of areas, your realtor can find those for you.
Yeah, and my favorite conversation with what you're talking about is the rule of you can't get all three. So it's like you can either get location, you can get price, you can get amenities. You can't get all three.
Yeah.
They just can't. Or I mean, very rarely can you, and especially not in a seller's market, right?
Yeah.
And so are you okay, if you want that price and that amenities, are you okay sacrificing location? Are you okay? Like I see, we do a lot of business in Mansfield. I see this a lot with folks. Mansfield has just continuously exploded. It's just blowing up, right?
Yep.
And so Mansfield is an area where a lot of folks want to first-time home buy it because it's a family-friendly area, that kind of stuff, right? And so they want to be in there, but they just can't afford it just yet. So it's like, okay, to get that price and to get the amenities you want in a nice house, are you okay going outside of Mansfield and considering a different area just to get you those things?
Yeah.
Same thing goes for if you want price and location, probably not going to get amenities, which might mean it might be a fixer-upper a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you want to get the location you want, you might have to sacrifice price or amenities. Depending. So
it's like people that want to live around Magnolia,
yes,
or in Arlington Heights, because they love the character of those old craftsman homes.
Oh my gosh, who doesn't? Yeah, absolutely.
But you're not gonna get tons of amenities if you're trying to reduce the price.
Yes.
Yeah. So so those are the kinds of things that a real estate agent can search out for you and can find for you. And depending upon the type of house that you want to buy. And it also depends on your flexibility. So if you have the flexibility to, if your agent does a search for you and says, hey, you need to buy this time of year in this particular neighborhood, this is when we're going to really get serious about it. Well, then that would be a way to do that.
Sure.
Because you've got the flexibility with the time.
Yeah. But usually you don't. Yeah.
Usually you don't.
The average buyer comes to us and says, hey, I need to be somewhere. My lease is up and I want to buy. I've got to be in my new spot by here. I'm having a baby. Babies due here, like deadlines like that. Or, I mean, there's all the D's, right? Diamonds, divorce, and diapers and everything.
Divorce, diapers,
and so all these reasons that folks move, usually they come with a timeline. But if you don't have a timeline, that's a great gift.
It's a way to do it.
In the process. So.
And if you have the timeline, then you're a buyer consultation, which is where you sit down with somebody and they go through what's most important. Like you said.
We got to get a strategy together.
Location,
yes.
What's most important to you.
And the reason why that matters, especially in that situation, is because you do have a timeline we have to meet.
Yeah.
Honestly, I find that folks who are shopping without a timeline have a harder time doing it.
Yes.
Just because there isn't this immediate need to purchase, which is good because you have the leverage, you have the time, you have the time to sit back and do that. But as a result, you aren't as motivated. And so the offers, this is a great story. Can we talk about Dad's smart car?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Just real quick. This is a side. We got time for this. Y'all, this is the crazy story of my father. When I was a kid, and you can tell it because I'm sure you were a lot different in this situation. When I was a kid, my dad just came home with a smart car one day. And it was like, what? Like,
where'd they come from?
Where? Yeah. Why? Like, it was just all these, it was the most random thing. And he was just being a weirdo on eBay and was throwing in these super low ball. Like, if I get it for that, like, I've got to get this, right? And he finally got one to buy it, and it was a smart car offer. And so it's like, maybe you get a smart car, but probably not with real estate. That's the whole analogy where I'm going with this. If you're just throwing in low balls left and right, you're probably not going to get something.
Yeah.
Or if you do, I'm going to take it. You may not want it. Now, it was a fun car. Don't get me wrong. Smart cars are super fun. It was good memories for sure. But you may not want that. That may not be the way to do that.
Yeah, and especially in this market, right?
Sure.
You're not going to get anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just spin your wheels.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of the deal. And you know that you'd mentioned people who don't have a time limit. So a lot of times they have that whole FOMO thing too.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They're worried that they're going to get something better.
Yeah, or buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Post under contract and stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's real hot thing. So we have to talk about all that, up front to get people ready for those kind of situations. So the cool thing about hunting for a home in off season kind of markets, off peak seasons, is there's not competition. There's way less competition. You're not having to go to an open house with 5,000 people there, or go to a showing with 7 other people in the house. You're not having to compete with offers. So, and you can ask for more things from the seller. So that's the cool thing. The sellers sometimes can be a little bit more desperate in an off-peak kind of a time, because a seller, our sellers still have in their mind that they are used to that 2021 kind of a market. So if something doesn't sell in the first week or two,
what's wrong?
A lot of sellers start worrying and they just can't sustain that length of time that they might need.
Yeah, that's what we have to look at your neighborhood's local days on market. We have to look at what's average for your market.
Yeah. And so, that can be a time for a buyer to come in and get a special deal. Weather challenges keep buyers at home.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
When it is super
right.
hot outside, you're not going to see a lot of showings. If it is, during, what was it, Snowmageddon?
Oh my gosh. Well, you would definitely see showings.
That week or 2 or 3 around all that.
Right.
There wasn't going to be hardly a showing.
Yeah. It's funny. I have background in church, right? So the running joke was like, if it was raining on Sunday morning or Super Bowl, or, events like that also play into this. Like if it's going to affect folks going to church, it's going to affect people showing up to open houses and doing showings and stuff.
It just really does.
Yeah.
So that's something else to consider. I'm sure if you live in Colorado or someplace that gets severe snow, that would be the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the thing that's cool when you're shopping at off-peak time is that you can get more concessions thrown in. Yeah. Sellers are more willing to pay for or to fix repairs.
Sure.
They'll also be very generous with leasebacks. The buyers will be generous with leasebacks for the sellers. But then the buyers also, you can name when you want to close. You can name where you want to close. Yeah. There's all kinds of things that you could do that you couldn't do during high season.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is that you as a buyer, of course, like always, right, you want to be super ready to go.
Yeah.
So that makes you a strong buyer for a seller. The more confidence that a seller has in your ability to really close the deal. For sellers, for buyers, they want the best price, right? They want the best concessions, the best deal. It's more money related. For the sellers, what they want is a deal done. They want it. They want to make sure.
Confidence in closing.
They want confidence in closing. Yeah. That's really important to sellers.
Sure.
So the more that you can guarantee that with your ability to be ready, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, and we do that in a lot of different contexts. Yeah. If you have to sell before you buy, right? We want to pitch the home you're selling. If it's not on the market when we're putting in the offer, we want to at least have every single thing done. So the only thing that's left is for them to say yes to your offer, and then we go on the live.
Absolutely.
You want to do everything you can to present everything in the most confident, very serious, we're doing this, we are a serious buyer kind of way. Getting underwritten before you buy the house is a way to do that as well, where it just looks like it's a step that's saved for the seller. So you are a step ahead of somebody who's just pre-approved. Absolutely. Because you look a little more serious than that person.
Yeah,
so.
And it's a big deal. Again, you're guaranteeing a close.
Yep.
So that's
well, and that's one of the main reasons cash offers are so appealing.
That's right.
Sure, it's a cash offer, cool, but the main reason that's appealing is because it removes the need for an appraisal.
Yep.
Now they can still ask for an appraisal in that process. That could be written into the terms, but the lender it's not required by the lender, by the third party financing agreement to get an appraisal done on the property to gain financing.
Yeah. So, we love it. We love it when we've got somebody who's already underwritten. That's a very, very strong buyer. The only thing that separates you and cash is the appraisal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's it. So, other economic factors that have to do with timing. And of course, these are trends too that have to do with timing. So, interest rates.
Of course.
Economic things like unemployment rates.
Yeah.
So, of course, it makes sense. The more higher the unemployment rate goes, the less buyer demands are going to.
Well, they just don't have access to funds. Buyers,
Exactly.
less people have access to funds to purchase
That's right.
homes. Yeah.
That's right. Property taxes going up is also something that can cause it. What we're seeing right now is because property taxes have gone up so much, a lot of our investor clients who have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 houses that are investment, they're dumping them.
Yep.
Because
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't
Even with raised rent.
Yep.
The insurance and the property tax increase is just too much for them.
Yeah,
It's
the
not enough.
work.
There's just not enough money coming through each month. So, and that's the other thing to consider. Back in 2018 when we had tons of investors coming through. So, we had the big box investors, that were buying 30 to 100 properties a month.
Sure.
So they were coming through buying properties. Then you had, of course, the onesie-twosie investors. But you had a lot of investors that were coming through and picking up houses. And so that also made a difference in, what buyers could compete with.
Yeah, of course.
They were paying pretty good prices for their properties. Buyers couldn't compete. So things like that are economic factors.
Yep.
Buyer incentives. So any kind of buyer incentive programs that are going on. If you have we went through a time years ago where the government was giving a buyer incentive for first-time home buyers.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure.
Well, that inflated the market. We had more buyer demand during that summer than we'd had in a long time. Business relocations, if a big business goes out of business or they move in, that's going to affect the neighborhoods
for our local market. Can you imagine if Lockheed just randomly went topsy-turvy?
Oh my gosh.
It would destroy
it
would destroy our local market.
Yeah.
That's just such a core infrastructure piece of our local employment.
Caterpillar, I think, did that.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
They relocated and that whole area of Illinois was like
that. It was built around that. Yep.
So it made a big difference. The Airbnb craze, that changed our market too, especially around lakes and out in the country.
It changed our laws. Because a lot of cities put in laws to say you can't do that except for these specific areas where it'll let you do that. So it just really,
So all these things factor in, and your agent who knows your local area is going to know all about those factors. Yeah. So they'll be able to advise you about when you can take advantage of those situations or when those situations are going against you.
Yep.
So, there's other things like the election. This is a particular year for that.
Heck
so the election year.
In case you didn't know.
In case you didn't know. So what we usually see in election years is it gets a little quiet in real estate.
September.
Right? Yeah, usually it starts around September, October, and it'll go until a week or two after the election is finalized. People doesn't matter who gets into office, it always hops back in again after it's over. People just don't like the unknown, the uncertainty of.
Yeah, who wants to uproot their life when they're not sure what's going on at a governmental level like that? Yeah,
that's really what it's about. So we'll see that this year. So just, we just always advise our sellers and our buyers about that and tell them, hang in there.
Timing is really important with that conversation.
It is.
You really need to have that conversation. If you're somebody who's saying, I'm going to wait till the end of the year or into that season to buy or sell, you really need to have a conversation probably now to just get your strategy, make sure your strategy is in place for how we're going to handle that effectively.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about strategic timing in the market.
Yeah.
So these are your tips and tricks for today. Anything else you want to add to any of that?
This is really good information. I think I want to be very clear. We're not saying have a strategy session with somebody like us just to get business or something like that. Obviously that's great. We love getting business. It's important to our families and our livelihood. But y'all, it's just, let's get a plan together. Yeah. Unless you're somebody who's very well versed in real estate, we have access to information that you need to know when you're considering this move. And so let us share that with you. Let us help guide that with you because it's really important as a consumer, as a buyer or seller in real estate. Yeah, and who doesn't want to have everything stacked in your favor, right? Heck yeah. Yeah, so oh my gosh. If we can stack it in your favor, we'll try to do that. Yeah, and time it as well as possible. Yep, yeah. Absolutely. Yep. So we certainly appreciate y'all every single week joining in with us. We do. We appreciate y'all. Make sure and leave us a comment or some feedback or subscribe. I want to hear you say, hit that bell. Hit that bell. We'd love for you to hit that bell. Do you know what that means? No, I don't know what it means. I love it. I love it. On YouTube, if you're on YouTube, hit that bell. You know what that means. Or that subscribe button. All good. So. Yeah. Yeah. Follow us. Let us know how we're doing. And if you have any questions, we always appreciate those too. Cool. Love it. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. See you next time. Hey, thank you so much for watching the podcast today. If this has been valuable for you at all, we sure could use your help getting the word out to more people. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow and consider taking just maybe 2 minutes to leave us a review. Both do wonders for our show with the algorithm, and on both platforms, all you gotta do, head over to our show page on Spotify, hit 3 dots and select rate. And on Apple, all you gotta do is just scroll down to the show and say leave a review. So just click that. If you're seeing this on Facebook or Instagram, a like or comment puts all the good vibes out in the algorithm for us. And on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we post a new episode. Join us again next week for more Fort Worth housing news and updates. Until then, y'all have a great week.